You ever heard of the giant that went around beating the Christianity into people with the clapper of a massive chapel bell? Surely you've heard of his homie Orlando, right? Maybe even Rinaldo, Margutte, the demon Astaroth? Nah. Well, stick around for an enchanting dive into the hysterical and heretical Italian epic that the side of my family I actually like is named after, Morgante, or if you prefer, the epic adventures of Orlando and his giant friend Morgante. All right. This is a thick book. It's by a guy named Luigi Pulci. He was a Leo. He was born August 15th, 1432. Obviously, he's dead now. He was from a poor but very noble, very liked family. He did have brothers who ran up debts all over town with everybody. But people liked Luigi, and he worked for the House of Medici. This was an Italian banking family. He worked usually as a diplomat for them, for their family. Medici means magnificent. So his main homies in the Medici family were Lorenzo de' Medici, so Lorenzo the Magnificent, and his mother, Lucrezia Tornabuoni. Obviously, she didn't take the magnificent name. Let's go back to Lorenzo's picture. I just want to say, I don't know, he might have been cool, but what a ratty looking dude. You're not supposed to judge people on how they look, but oh, look at that guy. Come on. All right. So Pulci had a reputation for beefing with priests in the 1460s and 1470s. He would write a bunch of sonnets that were calling out priests explicitly. These turned into public feuds. They got very personal, very uncomfortable. He was very broad-minded. He kind of got into occultism later in life. And when he died in 1484, the clergy denied him a funeral and buried him outside the walls of the cemetery, apparently in an unmarked grave. And I got on Find a Grave and was looking around on the internet, and I couldn't find a grave for him. I couldn't find any kind of marker or whatever. I feel like he may be slipping into obscurity. So anyway, the book, Morgante, or The Epic Adventures of Orlando and His Giant Friend, Morgante, was commissioned by Lucrezia. It's supposed to be like a chivalrous, heroic epic. So, yeah, again, very thick. That's a honka fucking book right there. Of course, it is in cantos, which makes it not so dense. But anyway, it was supposed to be a chivalrous, heroic epic. So it's based on the Carolingian cycle, which is basically medieval literature that's associated with France and the history of France, a.k.a. the Matter of France is what they call it. So we're talking Orlando as the big shit hero and Charlemagne as the king or emperor. You've probably heard those names before. But Pulci was cheeky, so the final result is something very satirical, very subversive, but seriously hilarious. It's like a very amusing book. This is stupid to say, but he turned the genre on its head. The genre of the Matter of France, the Carolingian genre, or writings based on this. So not only does it infuse the Carolingian stories with humor, but also very biting commentaries on religion. And it also brought those stories down to the people. It kind of mixes highfalutin epic language with more colloquial vernacular and I guess what some would call Florentine street language of the day. Pulci was from Florence, so he was down with the streets. Those were his people. It's funny because it refers to Charlemagne multiple times as Big Charlie. It's a funny casual nickname from this 1400s era book, or epic poem rather, about Charlemagne the Emperor. It takes like aristocratic idealism and brings it down to earth. And the aristocrats even paid him to do it. That's what's, I think, pretty amazing about Luigi Pulci. He was just that guy. He's just the dude. People liked him. Even though he was unconventional and progressive and kind of a dick. So this book is the origin of the name Morgante, which is my family name on my mother's side. My mother's side, of course, being the only one that counts. It's thought to be derived from the Old French adjective morgant, or maybe that's morgant. I don't know, and I couldn't find a pronunciation for it online. But it apparently means or meant proud or haughty or scornful. Again, this is Old French. I guess this is a not as readily available language as New French or Current French. Anyway, hey, spoiler alert. There are spoilers ahead. I'm going to now go into the story of Morgante, so spoilers ahead. Do you even care? I don't know. You going to read this? It's worth a read. Anyway, just letting you know, going to go into it. First of all, Morgante, the character. Morgante is a giant. His temperament is a lot like the dude from The Big Lebowski. He's more violent than the dude, but ultimately chill and just kind of going with the flow. Definitely not violent when we meet him. When we meet him, though, he's just waking up, and Orlando, the hero, has just killed Morgante's brothers, Passamont and Alabaster, basically in duty to an abbey that's downhill from them, that would catch rocks that they would throw over the hill. So Morgante doesn't want to fight. Like I said, he's just like, hey, dude, what's going on? And they become pretty quick friends, and they talk out the abbey thing. Then Orlando and Morgante leave together on an adventure. The priests in the abbey give them a horse, and Morgante mounts it, but he's too big and kills it accidentally. And so the fun begins. There is a huge through line that is the conversion of characters to Christianity. The central crew changes around, but there's a core of Orlando, Morgante, Rinaldo, and Oliver. The crew goes around forcefully converting people through violence, which is repeatedly played for laughs. Morgante is not very knowledgeable of Christianity, but wants to be a team player. He takes his weapon, the clapper of a giant church bell or chapel bell, uses it to beat and kill people in the name of Christ and Charlemagne. It's very cartoonish violence against everybody. It gets very graphic, but it's ridiculous. It's like a Sam Raimi type of vibe at times. It describes people's heads getting cut off, then the heads falling onto other people's heads, and then the heads that they fall on split open. There's lots of body parts being chopped off everywhere. Orlando cuts a king's fingers off at one point. He slices a guy down the middle from the top of his skull to the bottom of his upper torso. Rinaldo punches a horse to death. Morgante killing so many people that he has to dig his way out of bodies is a scene that it happens. And those who are not killed are badly beaten and then baptized. Always given the option for a baptism and conversion to Christ. One one of my favorite quotes from this is a character who's in there very briefly named Arminian, and he has the line, "May God unbless you." That's fucking great. So there are a lot of characters. Well, the best characters in this all have names that begin with M. Of course, starting with Morgante. Another good one is Meridiana. She's a very strong feminist kind of character, even though she has sex with Oliver, who's lame. But when we meet her, Orlando has just like killed her brother in a duel. So Meridiana then fights Orlando and does pretty good to like kick his ass until he realizes he's fighting a girl, and then he bails on the fight, of course. So she ends up joining their crew eventually, and is like a strong, crazy fighter. She takes up Morgante to go into a pagan camp. They're always fighting the pagans. To go into a pagan camp to fight people, just those two. She's just like, come on, me and you, let's just kick some ass. So, and they do good, but they're outnumbered, so the rest of the crew comes to help them out. And but she's the one who just does not give a fuck. She does what she wants, and the dudes can't touch her. Except for stupid Oliver, who is a little puppy dog who is trying to get with all the girls all through the books. Antea is another strong female antagonist, but she isn't as developed or cool as Meridiana. Meridiana's awesome. Another great M character in this book is Margutte. Margutte shows up a little more than halfway through, and it's basically a counterpart for Morgante, and they travel together and hang out for a while. Margutte is a half giant. Margutte is basically a foil to Morgante. Makes a brief appearance, but it's distinct. It's a very distinct character. Margutte is physically weaker than Morgante, but smarter and shrewder. So Margutte is the brains of the operation to complement Morgante's brawn. Some people think this is a character that Pulci wrote himself into. I don't know if that's true or not. So Morgante is headed to rejoin with Orlando and that crew when he meets Margutte. Margutte basically professes faith based in worldliness and gluttony. He's a lot like Bender from Futurama. But also, Margutte is an amoral hedonist that would fit well in today's Christian nationalism if he wasn't so honest about his intentions. They go to an inn and they eat everything that they have at the inn, and they take advantage of the place in every way possible. Morgante is the nice one, of course, and he ensures the innkeeper that he'll be paid for all their taking and gluttoning and consuming. But Margutte ransacks the entire inn and then sets it on fire. And then they leave. So shortly after, they find a unicorn, which they kill and cook and eat. Morgante eats almost all of it and leaves Margutte with just a few bites. This is basically a nice way for Morgante to send a "you better not fuck with me" message. So anyway, Morgante keeps doing this with everything they eat. This includes a turtle, a camel, an elephant, and a crocodile. Margutte keeps getting pissed off and threatening to part ways, but then eventually he dies of laughter. And the funny thing that makes Margutte laugh to death is that Morgante stole his boots while he was sleeping and hid them, and then a monkey found them and put them on. And this was way too much for Margutte, who laughed and laughed and laughed until he died, and then went to hell. Okay, so in the canto after Margutte's death, Morgante also dies. He takes off his boots to fight a well, WHLE, and then he walks ashore after the fight, and he's bitten on the foot by a crab. So the crab bite then apparently gets affected and kills Morgante. So Morgante sees this outcome. He actually predicts the outcome on the way and is laughing about it, saying that joking that the crab was avenging the well. So he's chill to the end. Funny because he's so strong and tough, and he like kills all these people, and then he's just done in by this little crab. Later, in one of the last cantos, they talk about how Margutte is in hell and Morgante is in heaven, killing non-believers with his clapper. So even there in heaven, he's killing people. I think that's kind of funny. So one more M character, and this is very much connected to Margutte. Near the end, there is a pseudo-return of Margutte. It's a magical freak character that they compare to Margutte and refer to as Marguttino, or Tiny Margutte. So Marguttino is summoned by a magician named Malgigi to get rid of these two antagonist giants named Catabriga and Falalbaccio. So Marguttino is goofy dumb. He is described as lame, hunchbacked, cross-eyed, all twisted and ill-shaped, but of gigantic size, save for his head, which had 2 pairs of horns for all to see. Direct quote from the text. Marguttino's whole purpose is just to piss off the giants by dancing around and making fun of them. This includes showing his ass and farting, or as the book puts it, anal noisiness. The giants get pissed off at this goofball that's just like talking shit while everybody else laughs hysterically. And Marguttino basically then gets the giants to pursue him into the forest, which the gang then burns down, and that's how they solve their giant problem. It's like it's funny I call them the gang. It's kind of like that episode of Always Sunny where something very similar happened. It was a Thanksgiving episode. As you probably have gathered, the story doesn't end with Morgante's death. Even Orlando and stupid Oliver die in battle before the end. It ends with the big bad antagonist, 2 actually, pagan kings, Bianciardino and Marsilius, being captured and then hanged by a Christian archbishop named Turpin. So while this happens, the rest of the gang stands around and they're just like talking shit. And the ending is highly rewarding because the whole story, this crew is going around murdering people and beating them up, but also giving them the option for baptism instead. Like, there is no one in the book that I can think of that if they're alive at the end of the fight, they don't offer them redemption instead of death through baptism and turning them on to Christianity. But then, in the next to last canto, at his hanging, when they're all standing around getting ready to hang him, Marsilius repents. He says that he accepts Christ and requests baptism. But in this case, after a whole book of never denying this to anyone, they tell him no. They tell him no. They hang him with no option for salvation to ensure that he goes to hell. They specifically want him to go to hell. It's funny that the whole mission was conversion to Christianity at all costs, but when they finally get their guy and he has to convert, they're just like, nah, you're going to hell. So anyway, that's the whole book. That's the story in a nutshell. There's a lot more to it than that because it's an epic. But that's Morgante, or The Epic Adventures of Orlando and His Giant Friend Morgante. If you're down with like old stuff, I mean 1400s and pretty progressive for the 1400s, definitely subversive. It's worth a read. It's worth not letting it fall through the cracks because it is something that exists in some antiquity and is just so genuinely amusing and easy to understand despite being kind of mixed vernacular. At least this translation I have here was pretty easy to understand, and there's a lot of abbreviated versions of the stories in the back of the book. They kind of give a summary, and there's lots and lots of footnotes that contextualize everything. So, yeah, if you want a good read, it's intimidating because it's so thick, but if you look inside, it's cantos, so you can read them pretty quick. Anyway, check it out. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.